Hey everybody, welcome back to Welch's Math class, where today we're going to spend a little bit more time on statistics, and I want to look in chapter 10 of our course a little bit at bar graphs and line graphs, and just want you to be able to give you some information on those. And so let's start off with some bar graphs. Right here, what we have is what's known as a horizontal bar graph. Okay, and this bar graph, it says, shows the percent of household income spent on food in various countries using 365-day year. How many days each year will the average adult have to work to pay for food in the USA? Well, now this particular bar graph right here can be a little deceptive. We're talking about a 365-day year. Now these numbers here are not actual days. These are the percentages, so that's 10.9%, 11.6%, all the way down here to 51.2%. These are the percentages of a 365-day year that the people in these various countries would have to work to pay for food. And so what we're going to do to get hold of an answer here, pull up our handy calculator, take a look, and with our calculator we are we're working on the United States. So 10.9% of these days, 10.9% of these days, we'll take our 10.9% and we'll actually change that into a decimal. So that would be 0.109. So 10.9% as a decimal is 0.109. And we will multiply that times the number of days, 365 days. And this is going to give us 39.785 days. Now it asks us to round it to the nearest day, so that's going to round up. The 9 is going to round up to a 40. Actually, the 7 causes the 39 to round up to a 40. So in the United States, what we'll see is 40 days on average for food. And so there we go. So be careful with this. This is, by the way, an excellent view of what's known as a horizontal bar graph, where what you can see is the people in India will have to work more than half the days of the year, more than 51% of the days of the year, just to pay for food. It tells you a little bit about the poverty in India, and that most of their days, or more than half their days, are spent working just to pay for food. Whereas in the United States, where we are definitely a more affluent country, only 10.9% of the days we work are needed to use to pay for food. So it's a good example of being able to gauge these different countries on a horizontal bar graph to measure the length of the bar. Let's go on, take a look now at a vertical bar graph. You notice that the bars are in a vertical position, up and down. You notice that there's a scale over here on the left side. Okay, let's see what this one's up to, asking us about. During which month of 1998 were the greatest number of workers unemployed? So this is a bar graph for unemployment. And so we want to lock in on 1998. So during which month of 1998 were the greatest number of workers unemployed? So we've got B is January 1998 and E is February 1998. We're comparing B and E. So I would say, since the E bar is higher, taller than the B bar on this graph, I'd say that there were more unemployed in February 1998. So let's go February right here and check that, and we're good. And then it goes back and asks us the total number of workers unemployed in February 1998 was, okay, so the total number of workers is right here, and if we follow that across, it looks like that's going to be at the 9 level, maybe, or maybe the 9.5 level. No, I'm going to say that's at the 9 level. Okay, so that's scaling across to the 9. All right, now this is in thousands. Okay, so if we put 9,000 in and we check that, I think we're going to see that that's going to be a wrong answer. All right, so it is a wrong answer. I want to tell you why. This is a very tricky little bar graph. It is 9,000, I think, is going to be the right answer. And normally we would put the 3 zeros behind for the 9,000, but because this has the word thousand following the block, if we just put the 9 in there and recognize that the word thousand is there, I think we'll see that we get a correct answer. Okay, so be careful with that based on how the problem is worded and reading the bar graph and so on. Right here, question, another vertical bar graph. How many more workers were employed in February of 1998 than in February of 1997? So I want to look at the two bars that represent February. Okay, so I got C and D here, February of the two different years. So it's going to be these two bars. And it has how many more workers. So that implies, when it says how many more workers, that's implying subtraction to take the one that has more and subtract the one that has less. And notice that this is in thousands also. So we've got 10,000, and then right here it looks like this is going to be minus maybe 8,000. So I would say 2,000 more workers. Excuse me. 10,000 minus 8,000, 2,000 more workers. Now this time, because we don't have the word thousand sitting behind there, I think we're going to need to put in our 3 zeros to reflect that it's 2,000 more workers. Put it in, and yes, we have a correct answer. All right, let's move on and take a quick look at this one. We have a similar kind of situation. How many more workers were unemployed in February? Okay, so February 98 and February 97. So again, we're looking at C and D. We look here, we've got, looks like the taller of the two is D, and that's at 9,000. And again, it asks how many more. And then it looks like the second one from that is at 8,500. Okay, so 9,000 minus 8,500 is 500. Let's put in 500. Check. And good. So you get a sense of a couple of different vertical bar graphs and kind of how they work. Let's move on. We've got one here that's maybe a little more complex. This one says, find the increase in Supreme unleaded gasoline sales from 2009 to 2011. Okay, so first of all, it's Supreme unleaded. Supreme unleaded is going to be in red. That's our code. So here's red. Here is what we're looking at. The increase 2009 to 2011. So it looks like in 2009 we're going to have between 700 and 800. I would say that's 750. 2011, that's going to be 900. So 900, okay, right here, minus 750 right here is going to be 150. 150. Notice that these are also in thousands, so we put in our 150. Let's put in our 3 zeros to reflect that this is in thousands. And good job. So you see, you get a sense of these bar graphs. They're a little difficult to read sometimes. Take your time. Be very careful with them, especially when you take your test on this. You don't want to make careless mistakes. Now we move on to something called a line graph. Now, whereas the bar graph, by the way, a second ago, did a great job of giving us these comparisons, okay? Comparing one year to the next really easily, comparing the height of the bar to get a sense of when you had higher unemployment versus when you had lower unemployment. The emphasis, though, when we get to line graphs is what we would call changes over time. All right, so we see the time reflected across the bottom, 1994, 1995, 1996, and then we see in this particular one, this is CD sales. So you can see a scale over here on the left side, and we've got two stores. A is in blue, B is in red, and it said chain store A sold how many CDs in 1995. So I'm going to go to 1995, and I'm going to follow that up to chain store A, which is blue. And looking at that, that looks like that comes across to right here. It looks like it's going to be 1,500. Okay, so 1,500. Let's put that in. Check that. And we got a wrong answer, and I think we have a wrong answer because I neglected that it's in thousands right here. So let's add 3 zeros to the back of this, and that'll give us the reflection of it being in thousands. Check that, and we're good. So I want to be really careful about that thousands business. I want to go to one more. This is another line graph that shows sales over a period of time for a tacos to go business and their profit over that period of time. Okay, so 1998 to 2002. All right, so they're asking the total sales in the year 2000 were, okay, total sales are going to be here. Let's carry that on out here. Total sales are 20, and this is in thousands of dollars, so total sales would be 20, 3 more zeros, $20,000. Okay, so you get a feel for that. So line graphs, changes over time. This is an interesting one. We see here, while total sales for Taco to Go in this graph steadily went up, actually their profit dropped some here and then started going up and then leveled off. So something was happening here that was eating into their profits from 1999 to 2000. The profit in 1999, looks like that was 10, and that's in thousands, so 10,000. Check, and good. Okay, so there's some examples of bar graphs. You had a horizontal bar graph, you had a vertical bar graph, and then you had some line graphs. And so hopefully that'll be helpful to you in section 10.2 as you move through that. Next time we get together, we'll talk about a special bar graph called a histogram and help you create one of those. Thanks a lot. See y'all next time in Welch's Math class.